Hi, so today I'm going to be talking about the 23F. So it's attempt of a coup d'etat attempt in Spain in 1981. So yeah, let's get started. So Lieutenant Colonel Antonio Tejero, he marched in the forefront of around 200 like not police but yeah 200 policemen, and he just straight up came into Parliament and said, everyone, like, shut up, go to the floor, sit down. I mean, it sounds brutal. I mean, not brutal, but it sounds like very authoritative, and it was. But in Spanish, it's one of the most famous phrases you can ever, like, ask anyone in Spain, like, if you've ever heard the phrase, quieto todo el mundo, al suelo, se sienten coño, and everyone will know exactly where it's from. Well, when he actually came into the building, he was met with absolutely no resistance. Like, he just walked in, and he even fired some shots at the ceiling, which are still there. Well, also, for reasons no one can explain, or no one is willing to explain, the TV circuit that was going on in Parliament on that day just didn't work. So, coincidence? Well, to try and gain a bit of support for this coup, Lieutenant General Jaime Milans del Bosch, he communicates by telephone to several other like generals and captains and whatever in the army. Most of them, after further investigation, after the coup was finished, they didn't like they said that they never received these phone calls. Well, the king, Juan Carlos I, he also talked with these military men, these captains, and even managed to get them to not break democratic values, not break the constitution. Well, the General Juste, he was prepared to take Madrid at the forefront of the División Acorazada Brunete. He calls up Sabino Fernandez Campo, who is the king's private secretary, and he asks him, "Hey, do you know if General Armada is Palacio de Zarzuela, which is like the palace where the king lives?" And well, Fernandez Campo, the private secretary, says, "Well, Armada, he was never here. He's not really expected to be here," proving that the king was not behind the coup. Also, the king had only been on the throne for around 6 years because the dictatorship had ended in 75 and the king had returned, so the position of king was kind of weak. And also, no one, and to this day, a lot of people in Spain don't really know, myself included, like, I'm not entirely sure. But if you ask anyone what the king did and what the king does currently, it's a bit like, what do? They have any real power? So that's why people were thinking, hey, maybe the king wants to gain more power and they move parliament, but this proved that the king was, like I said, not involved. Well, Juste, he only he went backwards on the orders of the general captain in Madrid, who was Guillermo Quintana Lacasi. In Valencia, the General Milans de Bosch, I mentioned him earlier, he decides to impose a curfew, very much like the one we have now. Well, not anymore, it's been lifted, but the one with COVID, you have to be home at so and so hour. Well, he imposed that and even moved tanks to the streets of Valencia, who were now aimed at certain strategic buildings like the City Hall or the government delegation. Well, General Alfonso Armada, I mentioned it before, he shows up at Congress. Parliament, Congress, same thing. El Congreso de los Diputados. It's in Madrid. Well, he for once he wants to tell Tejero to stop like this kidnapping of parliament. But on the other hand, he also wants to form new government with himself as the head of the government, with ministers from like ministers from every single political party. Tejero's like, no, I'm not gonna do that because I've not assaulted Congress for this. This is not worth it. I mean, in Spanish, it's yo no he asaltado el Congreso para esto. Well, Armada, he is like, the guy is kind of crazy, and he leaves. I'm not even kidding. That's a quote. Está completamente loco. He's completely crazy. Well, a few hours later in Valencia, the like state of exception, the estado de excepción, it ends. Well, also around like 1 in the morning of the 24th of February, the king gives this speech on national television telling the generals to stand down and to leave parliament. Well, once morning comes from like earlier hours in the morning, several of these policemen and civil guards. I don't know the word, exact word in English, but they start they start giving themselves to the National Police Force. So like, we yield, take us into custody. Some even like go out the window of the press office. Then around like 10 a.m., the female members of Congress are let out. And then around 12 p.m., Tejero is like, fine. Yeah, I've not got anything done, and lets the male, the dudes, leave parliament. I'm not sure if it's entirely true. There's this really famous guy in Spanish, like political history, called Suarez, and I forgot the name for a second. Adolfo Suarez. There's an airport named after him, and I think he just like persisted. He didn't, when he came into the, like when Tejero came in with the gun, he stayed in his chair. He didn't hide behind the tables like many did. He wasn't the only one, but he was one of the most notable ones. And yet that is the 23rd coup d'etat attempt in Spain, in Madrid, 1981. And FYI, the reason I think this video is a bit weird is because when I was making the notes for this, my script, I accidentally made it in Spanish, and I just realized this once I started recording. So yeah, that's why I had to translate everything at the same time, because I didn't write in English like I normally do. And yeah, that is it. That is the 23F. I mean, it's one of the most iconic, one of the most famous pieces of Spanish history, and one of the most notable ones in the return to democracy after the Franco dictatorship ended in 1975. And one of the only events people can actually say, hey, the king did something. Because for the life of me, I cannot tell you what the king actually does. I mean, he represents Spain, but I really cannot tell you what the king does. He's not even present in parliament. Like, the Queen of England is, but our king is just there. I couldn't tell you what he does. So yeah, that is pretty much it. I don't have anything else to say. Quite a short video and quite a weird one because I've had to translate everything in the matter of seconds. And it doesn't help that my accent keeps on switching from Spanish to whatever this is. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you liked it, and thank you for watching. Bye.